Hi there. Here's another one of our from the judges box, and we have an interesting one this time. This has some level 2 test 4, and this is some haunches in and shoulder in, which this competitor is Kristin Kill, and she sent us. Luckily, it's very interesting. We've got just a minute or so of tape, but the shoulder in and haunches in one direction, and then level 2 test 4 showing us in the other direction. So let's get started because it's really interesting and I think you'll find it fascinating. So here it is headed out, and she's going to step right into the haunches in here. And what I like about this is it's super steady. This horse didn't lose any energy. He's definitely in the 4 tracks that he needs to be. He has to be wide. What we would like a little bit is a tiny bit more bend. This is a level 2 horse. These are new lateral movements. And so what we're going to say about this horse is liked his energy, showed lots of impulsion. His tempo was the same. He stepped easily into it, but would like a little more bend. And that's going to be, let's just pull it back for you a little bit here. As he steps into this, if his a little more lateral pole flexion, and if he stepped a little bit so that his chest is a little bit straight, his forelegs going a little bit more up through here, is really tricky for level 2 horses. They're just beginning these movements, but is this pretty good? It's pretty good. And right there, he showed a little more bend. As she gets a little further along, he loses it. I think she thought he was losing impulsion and kind of pushed with her leg. It's hard to keep the bend while you push with your leg. So that part's pretty good. Let's stop her right there. And then he straightens out, and you see that she brought him back into lateral pole flexion afterwards. He was nicely straight. He's on the bit. So lots of really cool things there. I don't know. This was an online show. It's not my business to know what someone else gave it. But my guess is I'd be looking at that going 7.75. It's pretty steady. It looks pretty active, and there's nothing really wrong with it. We might just say needs a little more suppleness or a little more bend, but still a pretty good deal. Now, what's going to happen next is she's going to come up to the center line, which is that right there is her center line marker. And she's supposed to step into the shoulder in, and we're going to have a look at that. Now we're looking to see how he turns onto that center line. And in shoulder in, what's supposed to happen is his hind legs are supposed to be on the center line, and his shoulders will be to the right of the center line. So you have to know where your horse needs to be placed when you're doing these movements. Kind of cool. Here we go. So she's turning the corner. He's on the bit. Pretty the same tempo, and right there below it, his hind legs went out, and as she went around the corner, instead of turning in, she drove him off her inside leg, and he fell out around the corner. Let's check that out, because that's a lack of engagement to begin. So we're going to see this right here. Let's look at this again. And he goes right past the center line. So we're here. Let's back him up just a little bit because she's going to do something clever next. So right there, you can see his forelegs are on the line, but his hind legs are going past it. And in order to get him to shoulder in, that was very good. She did something very interesting. She realized she'd blown it. Luckily, he's still on the bit. And what she did was he fell out around the turn, and she realized that his hind legs were off the line. So what she did was she drove forward, got his hind legs on the line, and then got back into shoulder in. That's a recovery. And that's a smart competitor who knew what she was supposed to be doing. She realized she blew it in the turn, but she drives forward onto the line, gets her hind legs on the line, gets the horse's hind legs on the line, and then tries to get into it again. And she's in it, but now he's drifting left again. And he drifts and he drifts. And now when he stops down there, I'm going to back him up just a little bit. You saw again that he drifted left enough that, see, there's the marker behind him. His hind legs are off the line again. So what does this tell us about this? Left leg's weak, and you're looking at it going, it's off and it's forward. So my guess is that this rider got focused on her right leg, lost her balance, this leg fell off by mistake, and her horse drifted out. So he drifted out through the turn. And a lot of us are really more right-legged than left-legged, and we don't even know it about ourselves. So when we start doing this lateral work, one side's easier than the other. It always is. So she's overusing this right leg, not enough outside leg balance. And so he fell out through the turn and he fell out here. So let's just let her finish this and see where it goes. So by the time she finishes, she's still really haunches out, not shoulder in. For me, there were some good things in that she knew she blew it, she corrected it, but then she fell left again. He did stay on the bit. His tempo was about the same. And for level 2, his on the bitness and energy, at least in these 2 movements, is okay. So, but the problem is, fell out, corrected, fell out again. You lost your engagement over and over in this movement. So I'm thinking this movement would be marked 5, 5, 5. I appreciate the fact that he's on the bit, and I appreciate the fact that the rider was quiet while all this was going on, but didn't quite get the job done, although she's trying. It's not a 4 because at some point you knew what you were doing, you tried to make corrections, and for a step or 2 you have some shoulder in. It's just that you couldn't maintain it. All right, now she's going to be much still on the center line, but I wish there's a little bit of tilting here, not so much about bending. So I'm wishing there was a little bit more guarding leg because I have the feeling that this hind leg is falling out through the turn. We'll see how that goes. Little bit more, the rider could be supporting the horse. So she steps into the shoulder in here. And as we have talked about before, shoulder ins, they never look impressive from the back. It's just judges have to learn how to judge shoulder in from the back. And this one's okay. Let's back her up and take a look at it again. So she comes around the corner and he steps his forehand in, and you could clearly see him do it. I think what's happening though is as she goes along, she's losing a little roundness. And we saw her step his forehand in, but as she went along, I felt like she lost the 3 tracks and he's losing energy. And then he's a little less round than he was when he was over here. So, if I felt like, he was more round over here, now I'm thinking, well, he's losing a little impulsion, getting a little on the forehand, and the rider is losing her outside aids. And it's those outside aids that the outside rein is the rein that sets your horse's head. It sets his height and his length of his neck, and it's your legs that keep up your impulsion. And I just feel like that he's not keeping an impulsion to a round connection here. And that outside guarding leg, which will help keep this horse in the shoulder in, may be weak somehow. So I'm kind of on 6, 6, 5 in this direction because he's getting a little strung out. Now she's going to make a half circle to the center line, and we're looking right at this point right here because that's going to be our line. And then he's going to be haunches in on the line. So that means that his forehand should be on the line between A and C, and his haunches will be to her left, our right, of the line. That's what we're looking for on this placement. So this is all a pretty smooth test. We see riders that, the horses are off the bit, and I mean, this horse is reliable and round and on the bit. Okay, so that wasn't clear because when you look at him, there's the markers. Let's back up a little bit. The markers are kind of under his belly. So didn't really quite nail that center line. Let's stop again. Yeah, so there's the marker. Though that forehand is supposed to be on this line. And then the haunches over here. So now all of a sudden the center line work is like, whoa! I've been nagging people for years. You've been out there looking at my YouTube video that says how to improve your center line. It's because you lose so many points when you don't know where the line is, like that right there. This is a 0.5 off, at least. And if it wanders around some more, it goes down some more, because that's a minimum of 0.5 off, no matter how good her shoulder in, hunches in is. That's a minimum, and sometimes more if she can't keep this and wanders off this some more. So you don't, it's silly to lose it off, that kind of thing. Like, get it figured out where that line is and keep that horse on that line. Keep his forehand on that line. Yeah, see, for me, he's just getting to the point where now here's the marker, his hind legs. So his shoulders passed the line. So what we're saying is he was in haunches in and he traveled, he's traveling this way. So he's lost engagement, not reliably on the line. I do like, one thing that was great was at the end, like, we just back him up a little bit. He did have lateral pole flexion, like right there. He's in the 4 tracks that he's supposed to be in. He has super bend, but you couldn't hold it on a line. That's, because that punches in, if it had been straight on a line, would be a good big score at level 2. So I'm thinking, let me just see. Let's think about it all together. Let's let her turn the corner and just run. It's really not fair for me to judge these because I get to look at them and then I pick them all apart. And, in a live show, you make a decision fast. But I think what I would have said to her, what I would say right here is improved as it went along. Okay. It did have bend and it was steady. So 7 needs to keep a line. Because one thing it did do is it did stay on the bit. It was in 4 tracks. It did have bend and it was on the bit. So that's fairly good. The skill that she doesn't have is the balance to keep the line. And we know that that's going to be really, really important because she's headed for level 3. And I mean, to nail these tests and get 7, 7, 5, and 8 on everything, you've got to have your outside aids. But in level 3, 4, 5, that guarding of the outside leg and the balance that's coming is necessary for managing engagement in half passes. And so these are the developmental exercises that get you to the half pass, which is coming. So this was really exciting to have sent in and to see both sides. And we have a rider who's, in pretty nice alignment. The horse is definitely round to the connection. He is showing a lot of activity here, and rider sitting up, triangulated forearms, which looks very good. So I think the rider is definitely going all in the right direction. She's paying attention to her equitation. It looks like she's doing a good job understanding the geometry of her tests. And now she's just working on being able to control her collection and engagement when she doesn't have rails, walls to support her. I think she's developing that skill, which is really, really cool and really necessary for everyone. But wow, what a great tape to send us to look at, because this is what really, really teaches other people. Kristin Kill, thank you so much for sending this. Take care and bye.